almost there. No way. What is this? You're tuned in to the Eyes Open podcast, where secrets aren't safe and we see it all.
Okay, before we get into today's episode, I wanted to start out with something pretty important. Now, what I can tell you guys is this. Had a lot of thinking about this yesterday, and I'm going to officially be probably one of the first podcasters that's going to say this, is the Epstein files are officially closed. Okay? They're closed. And I'm going to tell you why. I'll continue to add to them. Not going to continue to speak about them because nobody's going to do nothing about it. Okay? That's just the sad truth of the matter of what's going on. Nobody's going to do nothing about it. And it's to a point, I think that's why they released them. I think that's why they do things like this. They literally do it to prove that nobody's going to do anything about it. Because nobody is going to do nothing about it. Nobody's going to be prosecuted. They have videotape. They have all the evidence they need. And now it's even coming out that the deeper you go in the Epstein files, the more demonic it becomes, of actual proof of satanic worship, sacrifices, all kinds of things. And it only gets darker, as I've told you guys from day one. The deeper you go down the rabbit hole, you just end up with everything's demonic. I promise you, that's what it is. People, a lot of people out there still try to act like the Bible's a fairy tale and God's not real. And you could tell yourself that jargon all you want. But one day, if you continue to do that until the day you die, you're going to meet your maker and you're going to find out that it ain't no fairy tale. These people that run your world worship these dark entities. And that's why people look at this type of thing from a human perspective, because we're humans, and they say, oh, how could anybody do these type of atrocities that they do, you know, with these children, stuff like this? Because these people are not human. Okay? They may be. Now, I'm in between. They're either, you know, actual fallen angels in the, like, walking this earth in human form, shapeshifted, or they're demonically possessed human beings. They're human beings that are demonically possessed from whenever that happened to them. And I absolutely know that's for sure one of the cases. Okay. The other one might be, you know, probably a little bit more of a stretch, that they're actual fallen angels, you know, shapeshifted into humans, but they're absolutely demonically possessed. All of these people that you see at the top, they're all demonically possessed. And if you look into it, there's a reason that some of these people smell like sulfur when you go around them. I've heard about that, about Obama. If you notice, flies land on these people, like in settings where there should be no flies around at all. How many times did flies land on Mike Pence and Obama? And you see it all the time with these people. They smell like sulfur. And we all know who the Lord of the Flies is, and they have flies land on them. These people are demonic. And there's a saying that is from the movie 8mm, if you guys have ever heard or seen that movie with Nicolas Cage. Joaquin Phoenix told him when he was going down the rabbit hole, in a sense, in the movie to find out who made a snuff film. He said, when you dance with the devil doesn't change. The devil changes you. So the spiritual warfare going on with this whole Epstein thing is way deeper than most people realize. There's probably multiple reasons, but a couple reasons I see is, one, they want to prove they can do whatever they want because they're like, wow, we're telling them what we're doing and nobody's doing nothing about it. Okay? And also, they want to fill your head with all this type of evil, weird stuff to be thinking about 24/7. We know it's happening. Okay? We have the proof that it's happening. We don't have to continue to fill our heads with this stuff. Unless we're going to do something about it, there's no point in sitting around talking about it all the time. Because it's redundant. We know it's happening. Are we going to do something about it or not? I'm going to give you a prime example. Okay? Take a look at this picture. Okay? This lady was exposing the fact that CPS is an actual child trafficking ring. Right before her documentary was to be released, her and her husband were mysteriously found dead. Okay? Yeah, just complete coincidence that happened. So it goes deeper than Epstein. All right? Epstein is literally just one player in the game. If he even is a player in the game. He could have literally been a character they made up to show what they're doing when really, like, because obviously, like they said, they're all doing it. If they're up there, they're all doing it. They're all a part of the club. It's just what it is. So for me, unless someone's going to do something about it, there's no point even discussing it anymore. Okay? Come to me when someone's going to do something about it. I had somebody send me a message about some crazy stuff about some rings that are actual other rings that are going around, and sent me some pretty crazy information to go look into. And I said, look, the truth is, people who go looking into this stuff, they end up dead, okay? Or I should say unalived. They end up unalived, okay, period. Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell, Anthony Bourdain, I heard, but I don't have no proof on that. Chris Cornell, I know for a fact, because if you go look into the Cornell Foundation, they absolutely took him out. Absolutely. Because of his work in Haiti with the Clintons and stuff, absolutely took him out. So if they're taking out these high-profile individuals that are looking into them, okay, somebody like me with reaching close to a couple 100,000 followers that people are slightly listening to, they'll have no problem making me vanish, okay, because that'll probably fly way under the radar and nobody would even bat an eye at it. So I do nobody any good by something happening to me or putting my family in harm's way. I can't continue to bring you guys truth if I'm not around anymore. So like I'd said, we've identified the problem. All right, that's the type of person I am. We've identified the problem. We've identified that it's happening. Now what's going to happen about it? Who's going to do something about it? Are we going to do something about it? Because then, because that's what it is. In my world, being a boss, being ahead of people, I used to hate when people would bring me problems all the time, but never brought me the problem with the solution. Okay? I'm into solutions. So if you're going to bring me a problem, let's figure out some sort of solution. If there's no solution, there's no point in sitting there talking about it 24/7. Because like I told you, what they want you to do is to keep that type of sick, demonic stuff in your head. Focus on Christ. That could even be another reason they're distracting you. Anything to keep... Remember, the devil doesn't need you, okay, to follow him. He just needs to keep you distracted from Christ. Period. That's all he needs to do. He has one job that could trick you in a million different ways, and that's it. It's that simple. So unless people have a real solution, unless people are going to stand up and do something about it, which maybe that's even a part of their plan too, is they want people to be in an uproar. They want people to rise up. That could be another reason what they want. They want that to happen. They want you to rise up so they can slap you down, so they can, start martial law. There could be a lot of reasons of what they're pulling. That's why you got to be very careful, because these people are very crafty, because you're dealing with the devil himself. And don't underestimate the devil. Even scripture says about how even Michael the archangel goes to God before he does battle with the devil, because the devil's crafty. So you got to watch how he'll try to trick you. So that's all I'm going to say on that matter as far as the whole Epstein stuff. For me, I'll continue to add to the file. Something new comes in, that really is breaking, that has to do with something being done, I'll gladly report on it. But I don't see a point in reporting on something when nothing's being done about it. It's sickening. It angers me. And I don't like being in that position. And I think there you go. There's another reason. Maybe that's the type of state they want you guys to live in a state of anger, which God would not want you to live in. God says vengeance is mine, and trust me, God is going to take care of business. But today's episode is a pretty interesting episode. And I had something else planned for today, but this had kind of came out of nowhere because I was woken up out of sleep from a very, very crazy dream. And like, for the people who have had these kind of dreams, you ever had a dream that was just so real, it was almost realer than reality? This was one of those dreams. And I rarely, once in a great while, if it's really out there or something, it seems like I'll have dreams that are very out there, but I don't really remember them. I just remember that they were really crazy. I'll remember maybe a bit or a piece, something like that. But last night was one of those nights where I had a very vivid, insane dream that really was unnerving, unsettling. And I've never had a dream like that. So in this dream, which was very wild about it, I lived in this really, really huge house. Okay, I'm talking massive house. And we were going to list the house, me and my wife. And we were deciding to list the house because we're like, we're going to go buy something, I guess, smaller. But, and the thing about this dream is it moved like a storyline, like a movie. And usually my dreams don't move like that. They're not in like a storyline type of aspect. So we decide to list the house. We're going to sell it. And what happens is we go to, there's a portion of the house that I never go to. We never go to that end of the house because the house is so big. It was just me and her. And in the dream, I didn't have my kids with me. My kids weren't in the dream. It was just me and her. And we never go to this end of the house. And it was like weird, like this end of the house that we went to that we never go to had like a kitchen in it. It was like a whole living area. It was like a whole nother house. So we go over there and she's kind of, making sure stuff is tidied up there and closed up because we're getting ready to list it. And I look around and I notice that there's like Christmas things. And I'm like, so I'm looking around, there's like this Christmas book and Christmas decorations that were in different places. And I'm thinking, I'm like, what is this doing here? We don't celebrate Christmas. We don't have any Christmas decorations. So that was the first thing that threw me off. And the dream kind of interrupts from a storyline in this way. I remember opening, there was offshoot from this area of the house, there was this door to a basement. So I opened this door and there's like these two dogs. They were like, and they weren't like full grown. They were almost like pit bull puppies. They were like kind of like in between a puppy and a larger dog. And they didn't seem vicious or anything, but I seen them and I'm like, what the heck? So I shut the door and I tell my wife, I'm like, what the heck is there two dogs doing down in that basement area? And I'm like, did they get in, in some part of the house or something? So that's the first thing I could think of. But then I remember what had happened was, so I call my brother and he ends up coming over and he brings my other brother with him, which, by the way, this other brother he brought with him, I never see him. Like I seen him, I think like a year ago or so. And before that, it's been easily a decade. I never see him. Because he lives, in a different state than me. But he just, so there's some family members you don't see. So maybe I was looking into the interpretation of this dream too. I found it very interesting. Unsettling, but interesting. So they come over and we start investigating. And it was like weird because there was this part of the house where I looked under and I'm looking in there and there's like these brick like tunnels. Okay, it was like these little tunnels that you could get through, and they're like these archway type tunnels, and they weren't huge, but they were like you looked under, almost like how those brick ovens are. It was kind of like that, like these tunnels that you could go through, and I'm like, what the heck? So I'm finding different places in this house that I didn't even know existed, and I remember in the dream, I'd lived in this house for years and years and years, like for a long time, like the house I live in now. Like I've lived in it for a long time. So what happens is we find an access way into the bottom of our house that we didn't know existed. And what happens is we find a family living there. Okay? It's very weird. So they had been living there the whole time, I guess. They weren't confrontational, and it was very strange because it was like we didn't really get confrontational with them. They didn't get confrontational with us. It was kind of like they expected us to know they were there. And then my brother's girlfriend or wife or whoever it was who was with us, she was kind of like saying something to them and speaking to these people. And then all of a sudden she keels over, like from some type of embolism or something happened to her because she was, or aneurysm or something. She started bleeding from her nose and just fell like dead. And I remember we freaked out. We ran upstairs and I was like, this is really messed up. I don't know what's going on here. I'm calling the guy that I bought the house from. So I called the guy that I bought the house from and I threatened him. I said, look, I'm going to sue you. I'm coming at you with the full weight of the law because, I know you had to have known about these people living underneath my house. So he comes over and it was really like eerie because he was a lot bigger than me. And he was like, he brought this guy with him that looked very crazy, tattoos all over his neck and looked real insane nuts. And he says, well, look, and he pulls out, he was talking real normal. He says, so you're going to do this and you're going to do that. So he pulls out like one of those little razor blades and he says he's going to cut my throat. He said, if I say anything to anybody about the people that lived underneath my house. So I take off, okay, and I go to my room and I get my gun, which this is symbolic, I'm sure, in the dream because I was reading a lot into this morning. There's very lots of symbolism in this dream that pertains to me, and it's very weird how it played out. So I go to get my gun, which is a very it's not a cheap gun, very reliable pistol that will never jam. Okay, it never had it jam. Put thousands of rounds through it. Never had this gun jam. So just based off the type of pistol it is, it wouldn't jam. So I pull it and it jams, and I can't shoot. So that was like symbolic in the dream too. But what had happened was it kind of jumped to a point where I started finding these other places in this house that didn't exist, but there was other like little families living in these houses. Some of them were little people, and they were living in these secret places in my house. So I was even remembering part of the dream, I was talking to my wife and I was saying, maybe that's those noises we used to hear at night and the certain things we can't explain that we heard and whispers and stuff. Like we in a sense had this thing where we kind of thought, we're like, oh, we used to joke like, oh, the house is haunted. But that's really what it was these people that were living secretly in our house. And the eeriest thing about the dream was I could swear I've lived in this house. Okay. The house was very familiar in the dream. That I remember even when I woke up. I was like, I could swear I've lived in this house, to the point I thought it was my house when I woke up. It was so weird. So the dream was so unsettling. It's one of those dreams that if you guys know, when you wake up, it stays with you for a little while after, for a good little while. Even now, like it's very strange, weird dream. And it really led me to believe, really what are dreams? Because when you get into dreams, when you really look into it, they hold significance in all cultures, even biblically. So if you look at it, for example, okay, dreams happen everything from, I even got some examples here from the Bible that I wanted to note down. Because like in the Bible, if you notice, okay, so like in Genesis 37, Joseph dreams were foretold his rise to power. So the Bible, throughout the Bible, there's examples of dreams foretelling things. Okay, Daniel interpreted prophetic dreams for kings. King Nebuchadnezzar II received troubling symbolic dreams. Joseph, the husband of Mary, warned in dreams to flee to Egypt. Pontius Pilate's wife was warned about Jesus in a dream. So, and then there's like the Bible verse, which is Job 33:14-15. For God speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not, in a dream, in a vision of the night. And then also in Joel 2:28, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Prophecy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. Okay? So think of it. This is a prophecy of the future. This is a prophecy of the end times. Okay? So dreams are very, very important, prophetic. Like it says in the end times, people will dream dreams. So dreams are very important, even, biblically. This ain't just something that's occultic or esoteric and, other cultures believe it but doesn't. But no, dreams are very much in the Bible and very symbolic and play a very big part in the Bible, in the scriptures. But I mean, everywhere from, Mesopotamian beliefs, dreams were divided into true dreams and false dreams. Kings relied on dream interpreters. So see, even in ancient Mesopotamia, they relied on dream interpreters. Kings did, okay? And ominous dreams could alter political decisions. So that's how powerful they even were, in the ancient Mesopotamian era. But even you go as far as ancient Chinese views, dreams were believed to be the soul traveling. So they believed that dreams are your soul traveling to other places. Some traditions taught that during sleep, the spirit left the body temporarily. So they literally believe that you astral projected out of your body when you dream. And then disturbing someone abruptly could shock the soul. So as far back, from ancient Greek, dreams were believed to be sent by gods. Temples of practice dream healing. People slept in sacred spaces to receive visions for medical cures. The Egyptians said some dreams predicted illness or death. So dreams are in every culture are huge. And a lot of the times, a lot of us, like I said, we don't even have a deep enough REM sleep, okay, to even have real, visual type dreams. But what I found to be interesting is in the last month or two, I would say, you could say since the beginning of this year, I've been able to remember my dreams, and some of them very vividly. I don't talk about them. I don't even talk about them to my wife most of the time, because some of them are just very unnerving and odd and hard to put together, and I don't tell nobody about them. Like I said, not even the closest people to me. I kind of just, let them go. But this one that I had last night was so strange that I was like, I'm going to do a podcast about dreams, because this one was just very, very shocking. I honestly can't remember the last time that I had a dream that was that surreal and was very unnerving and weird. But when all of it was broken down, okay, and I thought about it, it made sense, okay? Being that I'm stepping into a new place in my life as far as with the podcast is growing. I'm becoming a new version of myself in a sense. I'm growing in a sense, mentally, a lot of things going on. So the dream, as I broke it down and thought about it and researched it, a lot of the facets of that dream was making sense. And it's just very strange how things come to us in visions and dreams. And it makes us really think, what really are dreams? Where do they really come from? But it's something that, you know, as I'd said, it's not something that's wrong for us Christians to look into, because it not only is it not wrong to look into, God tells us flat out when he pours his spirit, you know, onto the earth in the last days, old men will dream dreams. Okay? Prophecy will come to people in dreams. So dreams are very important in the days that we are living in, to think about them, to analyze them. It's not something just to throw away, because think about that. Sometimes we kind of just go, oh, yeah, it's just a dream, and we throw it away. But no, nowadays more than ever, we should be looking at what we're really dreaming about and analyzing it. Because even if it's not, you know, some type of prophetic dream of straight from God, it could still have a lot to do with our mental state and where we are at currently in our lives. So it's definitely not something, you know, it's weird when you think about it. They do play a big role in our lives, in our subconscious, and the way we think and the way we feel, but we tend to just kind of, you know, dismiss them as, oh yeah, you know, that was just a dream, and, you know, it really ain't nothing. But no, it is something. It's something that obviously we shouldn't dwell on day and night and let it affect our lives, but it's something that we should be analyzing. But not enough people do. I mean, there's people, they say there's inventors that came up with inventions in their dream. So dreams are very, you know, interesting, intriguing. There's a lot of words that come to mind when you really, me personally, when I really look into what really are dreams. Because I think that there could be a key to a lot of stuff in our lives, as maybe even healing ourselves as human beings by analyzing what we are actually dreaming about. But we don't. We treat them as just, you know, a random thought almost that we have day to day. Oh, that's just another random thought that we have. But no, dreams are something we definitely should be looking into. Something we definitely should be keeping our eyes open to.